Alrighty, before we get into social media and Facebook in particular, I thought I'd give a little primer on websites and how to get ranked on Google. And first thing I got to do is bust a few bubbles. The maxim is ugly sites make money, pretty sites lose money. And a lot of people are going, oh no, I don't believe that. So, I just want to demonstrate what that's all about when I say that. Here we are on 50 Beautiful Flash websites, and we see some amazing pages portrayed. If we went and visited them, I'm sure they'd have all sorts of cool cartoony tricks, but it's very rare that you find one of these sites. And one of the problems is that the Flash doesn't let you optimize for search engines the way that would be nice. So I call those visionary sites. There's another category of sites that I call vanity pages. And here's an example. If I type in belly dancer, right at the very top, there's a Wikipedia page, which is kind of boring visually. And if I go for the number 2 position, then there's a somewhat prettier page, pretty because of the woman in it, and but still kind of boring and texty. Of course, that's why she's at the top of Google. Let's try something else. If we run all the way down to page 10, here's an example of a deep vanity page buried in Google. Visual appeal is primary for this belly dancer. And we check out Anna, and now she's doing something. She's probably had it written for her by her husband. This is what I call a bad carpet site. Notice the repeating tile background, and also the images that of the genies that have repeated motion. This is someone who's doing it themselves. It's cute the first time you visit it, but it's not so cute when you visit it later. Anyway, these are examples of vanity pages. Contrasting with that is what I call a purpose-driven page. I'll show you one of my purpose-driven pages, whatisradiation.us, and you'll notice that within about 5 seconds you know exactly what it's about. It's about radiation, and in particular, what is radiation in terms of health effects historically from Fukushima and how to protect yourself and your family. Anyone who reads that sentence can determine in 10 seconds whether or not they want to be here. That's a purpose-driven page. There's also certain things on a purpose-driven page to make and keep visitors. So you'll notice there's an email sign-up box, and there's a place for people to be involved. Were you exposed? There's a place for people to get updates about Fukushima. There's navigation both in terms of the blog posts and in terms of the permanent pages. And the header graphic serves to register somewhat emotionally, but definitely in terms of a mental image with what kind of thing we're dealing with. It's not necessarily pretty, but it does inform. Okay, so that's a purpose-driven page, and the idea is to give them enough information to let them know you've got the goods, and we've got 1 or 2 actions for them to take. Actually, I offer slightly more, but the upfront action is for them to subscribe. The next layer might be to get on the social media. I'm pushing that down for the time being. They also have the option of following. And eventually, what's going to be up at the top here is a video announcing an e-book. And the purchase of the e-book will be the alternate action. So this is example of a purpose-driven page, and it's got a lot of stuff going on. Part of what we've got going on here, even though it looks boring on the front, right in here where we say Fukushima radiation, this is a news feed. Actually, it lets the search engines know that there's continuing activity coming from somewhere. Every time it looks at the page looks different. So now we want to take a look at what it takes to get found on Google. Now that you understand the difference between a purpose-driven page and a vanity page and a visionary page. Getting found on Google, there's no real trick to it except that most people do it the hard way. If I were to type in, let's say, website design considerations, and what I notice, here's a site, an article I wrote at, and it is just barely on the listings without doing any scrolling. And if I visit that page, what we find out is it's a little article I wrote about how most people have misplaced priorities in terms of website design considerations. But what you need to notice is that it focuses on nothing but the words website design considerations. You've got it here in the title of the entry, here as the headline, here as a bold inside the first paragraph, here within the subheadline, here underlined. You've even got it non-underlined in there. So you see I've got a number of repetitions occurring within the page that make it focus on nothing but website design considerations. Even has the words tucked behind here. Don't be fooled by the tooltip. The words tucked behind that image are website design considerations. Looking at it from the back end, I have a score of 94.44% in my keyword indicator, and right here my density is 2.5%. I have it in my H1 tag, H2 tag, etc., etc. So I'm pitching the page entirely around the three words website design considerations. That's part of the reason why you can find me on the first page of Google for that. The problem with most people is they use a different approach. If you investigate the people that are trying to rank that don't know what they're doing with the SEO, what you'll find is that they use the description tag to do a literal description, and they get kind of lengthy and boring. What you've got to notice about your description tag is, if I type in website design considerations, right here is what happens in your description. And what I didn't do was actually optimize for that. The description is what pulls people in. So what you have is your title, which is the stuff in blue here, and it has a limited length allowed. And then right in there is your description, and the idea is when people read the description, they want to come visit you. Except it's nice to have the actual words you want in your description. So that's another piece. Okay. The other thing they do is they cast a wide net with diverse keywords. They cross their fingers and they don't seem to get much traffic. And that's because instead of narrowing down on the achievable keywords they can get, they expand out and try and get everything. So let me show you why this is a big problem. If here I take my example of website design, this is the Google AdWords keyword suggestion tool. And so it's looking, and I look for keyword ideas. Website design has 5 million searches a month being done on it. But then when I organize it, if I actually look up website design considerations, and then take a look at that, I see it's very high competition, and there are only 390 people a month searching for it. So now if I go and I run a Google search on it, what I see is it's got 7 million competitors right there. So that means my article basically beat 7 million other people because of the way I built the page. So this is the idea of focusing on a particular set of keywords. This can also tell you what business you're supposed to be in too. Anyway, so when you're trying to get a website to rank, the first objective really generally should be to discover who's desperate for what you've got. Most people are not experts, and they won't use the expert terms to try and find you. So if what you say is you're a reflexologist, some people know reflexology and they might try and find you. If you say, I make you feel good by pressing points on your feet, then even people who don't understand what reflexology is will have an idea of what you do. The other thing is some of your best potential clients might actually have some false perceptions. So the trick is to think in terms of the problem that somebody has, that what you provide is a solution for, and they might not have the right words for it. The second objective is to discover achievable long-tail keyword sets. And the general rule I like to look for is sets that have several thousand searches performed a month and fewer than 1 million competitors. So what we try and do is, if I say Chichen Itza, and I run a search on that, then I'll rank it in terms of who's searching for what. And I'll notice here in the competition, here are a bunch of low competition terms. And they have 301,000 people a month searching for them. All of these are worth looking for. Actually, all of these count the same as if they're the very same search, since they have the same number. But if I were to actually do a search about this, run a Google search on it, I have about 7 million competitors. And if I were to say instead, if I were to go for Chichen Itza tour, I'd be narrowing things down a lot. High competition, but 9,000 people looking for it. And now when we look for it, we've only got about 1 million competitors. I think I can beat 1 million competitors. So this tells you why I put the word Chichen Itza tour on the front of the website, even though that's not the entire focus of what we're doing. That does stand a chance of pulling in all the people that are looking, those 9,000 people a month that are looking for a Chichen Itza tour. So that's what I call looking for achievable long-tail keyword sets. Long-tail is a term developed to describe the keywords that people are not in tremendous competition for. An example, if we were selling baseball cards, we'd be if we just said baseball cards, that would not be the long tail. That would be the general category. If I had Babe Ruth, mint condition, Roger Maris, mint condition, as my various listings, these would be the long tails. People rarely look for exactly those cards, but when they do, you stand a much better chance of showing up on Google, precisely because there's not a lot of competition. So that's long tail keyword sets. The third objective is I want to structure my website so it does the following. 1, attracts visitors. 2, lets people know they've found what they're looking for within 10 seconds, keeps them there for several minutes. This tells search engines that the visitor found something they're interested in. And then gives people an action to take, gives people a reason to bookmark and return, establishes credibility and authority. So, again, this site is on its way to providing that, but again, it's not complete. When there's a video here that keeps people on the site for 2 or 3 minutes, telling a story that everybody can get behind, then I'll be establishing the credibility. The credibility is a human factor. It's when people believe what you're telling them. Then there's the notion of authority. Authority is when the machine thinks you're an expert. To determine how the machine thinks you're an expert, one thing it's doing is looking at how your website is built, what each page focuses on, and are the pages organized in a way that an expert would organize them, in categories that make sense. So this means each page focuses down on 3 to 6 keywords per page, just the way I did with the website design considerations, and then setting up each page to be search engine friendly for those keywords. The second part of it is organizing into silos. And silos are when you've got groups of related content stacked together. This way of organizing your information, it's not a hodgepodge. It means you actually know the entire body of information, and you're grouping it into categories that make sense as an expert. So you can get a long way by organizing each of your web pages so that they're search engine optimized, and then making sure they're organized into categories that make sense from an expert point of view. A couple of things about this: don't name these weird names. Name these the same names that everybody else would name them. If we were doing my favorite example, human development, this might be prenatal. This might be the newborn. This might be the young child, etc. And what that does is each one of these capstones here is validated by the articles underneath. And as we build more and more capstones, the authority granted, you see, authority is granted to this capstone by these articles. Well, authority is granted to the whole website once you get about 5 to 10 of these silos available on the site. So, the let's see, here's the other thing. The other thing is you've got to know link popularity. And to give you an example of link popularity, you type in the name of a website you might want to research, and then this shows you how many sites are pointing to it as if it's an authority. So we've got 78 results for Harmony Festival coming in according to Google, and we've got on Bing, we've got 9,050 results, and on Yahoo we've got basically 3 results. And of course this is a reflection of the campaign that was done for Bing and for Google with regard to Harmony Festival. So that's winning a popularity contest, essentially. Effectively, they're voting for you. And a good thing to know is that .gov and .edu sites carry much more clout for giving your site authority than all the regular .coms do. There are some time-tested methods for obtaining inbound links, such as submitting press releases and articles, which others post on their website and which point back to yours. But the hottest thing these days is social media, particularly Facebook and YouTube. And that's the subject of the next lesson.